At the most basic level, you may say that neuroscience is the study of the brain, but it is much more than that. The word neuro refers to nerves or the nervous system, and neuroscience is the study of the nervous system, which is comprised of the brain, obviously, the spinal cord, and the nerves coming to and from the brain. The Society of Neuroscience was founded only in the 1970s, but the curiosity of how the brain works is quite ancient from the time of the thinkers. The Neuroscience Revolution occurred when the scientists became more open-minded, no pun intended, and realized the best hope for understanding the workings of the brain would come from an interdisciplinary approach. And many scientists who devoted themselves in the pursuit of finding the mysteries of the brain came from different disciplines like medicine, biology, chemistry, and mathematics. Understanding how the brain works requires the ability to look at it from a variety of perspectives, and not just from what is happening inside the brain, although that is the most interesting part, but also understanding the structure of a water molecule, the electrical and chemical components of the brain, to why Pavlov's dog salivated when a bell rang, also known as classical conditioning theory. Many renowned people made an attempt in understanding the brain, and the origin of neuroscience dates back to millions of years. Prehistoric ancestors started to understand that the brain was vital to life, but that did not stop them from drilling holes in each other's brains, with the aim not to kill but to cure something. This process is called trepanation, which came from the Greek word trepanon for drill. It is not clear what those surgeons were trying to accomplish, but they also believed in hocus-pocus magic stuff, and it is speculated they were trying to cure headaches or mental disorders by giving evil spirits an escape route. Yeah, that happened. In the ancient Greece, they started understanding different parts of the body look different and also serve different purpose. Feet and hands look different and also serve different functions. We walk on our feet and use our hands to manipulate objects. So there is a correlation between structure and function. Although you can certainly do a handstand, but that is not what our hands are for. So they realized that the structure of the brain might also dictate its purpose. Closing your eyes renders you unable to see, and other quick inspections reveal that your head is specialized in sensing the environment, with eyes, ears, nose, and tongue. Even a rough dissection can trace the nerves from these organs through the skull and into the brain. So brain is the organ of sensation is what was believed. But there were several Greek scholars, and some were reaching better conclusions, whether it is from true or false premise. It happened many times that accurate conclusions were reached based on wrong chain of thought. The most influential scholar was Hippocrates. You gotta pay attention here, it's Hippocrates and not hypocrite. One can easily mispronounce it and go down the route of thinking what his parents had against him to name him hypocrite. So it's Hippocrates, and he was the father of Western medicine during 460 to 379 BCE. He believed that the brain was not only involved in sensation but was also what gave rise to intelligence. However, his view was not universally accepted, and much later some other famous thinkers like Aristotle clung to the belief that heart was the center of intellect. He also believed that brain is used for cooling the blood that was overheated by rapid pumping of the heart, so it acted as a radiator. They seem like ridiculous theories, they probably are, but most of these theories and questions in the early times formed a basis for modern neuroscientific studies. During the Roman Empire was the Greek physician and writer Galen, who embraced the Hippocratic view that the brain is also the chamber of intelligence, but he was also influenced by his animal dissections. He dissected a sheep's brain and could very clearly see the structural appearance of cerebrum, which is the front part, and cerebellum, the back part of the brain. He poked cerebrum with his finger and it was soft. Then he poked cerebellum and that was hard. And so he thought that from memory, sensations are imprinted in the brain, which can only happen in the soft part. So it must be receiving sensations, and so cerebellum must command muscles. It may seem like an improbable deduction, but he was not far from the truth. Cerebrum is largely concerned with sensation and perception, and cerebellum is movement control center. Well, how does the brain receive sensations and move the limbs? Galen cut open the sheep's brain and he found two hollow parts called ventricles filled with fluid. A ventricle is a hollow part or cavity in an organ, like the heart has hollow chambers. And so based on the prevailing theory regarding fluids, he concluded that movement of limbs were caused by the movement of fluids to and from the ventricles via the nerves. And a nerve was thought of as a hollow tube that is used to carry fluids, kind of like a garden hose. Finally, from the period of the Renaissance to 19th century, French inventors built hydraulically controlled mechanical devices. Hydraulic means involving pressure of water or any other fluid. So hydraulically controlled mechanical device is a system of parts that use fluids to do some work, such as oil or water. That's when brain was thought of as machine-like, where fluid is forced out of the ventricles and is pumped into the muscle, causing the limbs to move. After all, the muscles do bulge when they contract. This theory was given by French mathematician and philosopher Rene Descartes Descartes, but he believed that this is only half the story. He thought this could explain the behavior of animals, but for humans, just the capabilities that are similar to those like animals, like movement of limbs. But humans have an intellect and a God-given soul, and went on to explain these unique human capabilities that lie outside the brain, in the mind. Ventricles theory was discarded when Italian scientist and German biologist showed that muscles cause twitching movement when stimulated with electricity. The scientists in the 17th and 18th century began examining the brain more closely and observed two types of brain tissues, white matter and gray matter. White matter was continuous with the nerves of the body, so it was correctly believed to carry information to and from the gray matter. By the end of 18th century, the nervous system was completely dissected and described in detail. It's divided in two parts: central nervous system, which consists of the brain and spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system, consisting a network of nerves that spread across the body. There's also many bumps and valleys on the surface of the brain that helps it divide in various parts called lobes that will further help us localizing different parts of the brain for different functions. And so this has been the history of neuroscience, and the history of modern neuroscience is still being written.